So, guys, Trump is calling on patriots of various countries to fight for their freedom, that the future belongs to patriots of different countries. Now, before we get to that video, look at a tweet that Trump tweeted, and it says, South Africa is confiscating land and treating certain classes of people very badly. It is a bad situation that the radical left media doesn't want to so much as mention. A massive human right violation. Human right violation. Nigeria should listen. Human right violation. At a minimum, it's happening for all to see. The United States won't stand for it. We will act. Also, I will be cutting off all future funding to South Africa until a full investigation of this situation has been completed. So, guys, you can imagine what would have happened to Nigeria if Donald Trump was the president when Dele Farotimi was going through all what he went through. You can just imagine what would have happened. I mean, it wouldn't have been it wouldn't have been light for Nigeria. Trump is against the violation of human rights, and he's cutting off the fundings going to South Africa for this same reason. It's a lesson that the Nigerian leaders who are busy picking up people, like the IG will tell you, if you abuse anybody, they just go and pick you and put you in prison. Violation of human rights is going to happen. So, guys, I'm going to let you watch the video where Trump is asking patriots of different countries to fight for their right. Fight for your right. Nigerians, fight for your right. It is time. Stand up and fight for your right. It is your right. So, guys, take a look. And I'm also going to allow you to take a look at what Dele Farotimi has got to say about Trump calling African countries shithole countries. Take a look for yourself.
The truth is plain to see. If you want freedom, take pride in your country. If you want democracy, hold on to your sovereignty. And if you want peace, love your nation. Wise leaders always put the good of their own people and their own country first. The future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots. The future belongs to sovereign and independent nations who protect their citizens, respect their neighbors, and honor the differences that make each country special and unique.
But the first question we need to ask ourselves, what does he mean by shithole countries? Because what he has done is that he has defined these countries in the most derogative term imaginable, shithole. So, given the fact that these countries are mineral resources rich, given the fact that the persons to be found in these countries excel when they are outside of these countries, I realized that Trump wasn't talking about the countries themselves as destinations or as locations on the planet. He was talking about the systems that the people living in those places have managed to evolve, both to govern and to regulate their lives. Trump wasn't talking about our land. He was talking about what we have done with what we have been blessed with. So when I began to ponder these, I had to ask myself, shithole countries. What makes a country a shithole? Don't believe the lies we've been told forever that it is democracy, all right? because they'll tell you that if it is, I'll tell you, if it is democracy, as far as the West is concerned, China is not a democracy. Saudi Arabia is not a democracy. The Emirates are not democracies. These are not democracies. So it has nothing to do with being a democracy. What it speaks to are countries that are not governed by lawful processes or by the law. That is what Trump was talking about, because the fruits of lawlessness, of impunity, is what we're seeing all around us. When a law-based system collapses, when impunity takes over a space and it is not governed by law, what you find is rank insanity and perversion governing the conduct of both the governed and the governors. That is what has happened to us. So we are eminently qualified. Yeah. We are one of those that have been called shithole countries. If the cap fits, wear it. Know what they say? If it waddles, like a dog. If it quacks, like a dog, it's most probably a dog. If the cap fits. But who do we blame? That's the first thing we usually do. There's always somebody else to blame for where we are. Who do we blame? Exactly who do we blame? 140 years ago, 140 years ago this year, this is the 140th year anniversary of the Berlin Conference. Europeans sat down and they took the map of Africa and they carved it up into areas of influences, colonial territories. And this is what has become the shithole countries that we have today. Countries have evolved devoid of citizens. The business concerns of colonial powers have become today the fiefdoms of politicians who care nothing for those they rule. Whilst the former colonial masters continue to pretend and speak about democracies as though what we have in our country today is governance of the people, by the people, and for the people. China is a dictatorship, quote and unquote, but it is the factory of the world. It is moving people from poverty to prosperity at unheard of pace. Nigeria is a democracy and has been one for almost 26 years. But a lot of the people have grown progressively worse. Nobody will call us a shithole country 26 years ago, even though we were not a democracy. Poverty had not become so horribly weaponized against the people as it has become today. Let me show you. Because when we talk about poverty, Those of you who have the capacity to listen to me on YouTube, you imagine yourselves to be poor because you're broke from payday to payday. Or some of you, God forbid, are able to beg for urgent 2Ks here and there. Let me show you what poverty looks like. I used to once upon a time travel around this country by road. And in vast parts of northern Nigeria, vast parts, I warrant that men lived subsistence lifestyles. They depended on their land for their livelihood. They had no cash. They grew everything they would eat. 26 years later, what has become of them? They've been driven off their land. You have internally displaced persons running into millions within Nigeria. Vast parts northeast have been depopulated. When you hear names like Bama, when you hear names there are so many places that you hear their names, but there are nobody living there anymore because they've been driven out of their homes. Deliberately driven off because of illegal mining, headed by persons who are licensed and who are sworn to protect. This is the story of almost the entire South and almost the entire Northeast and Northwest. And that is before you start talking about the Moradun Fulani in the Middle Belt. Before you start talking about them in the South. Nigeria today, 26 years after democracy, is a vast killing field, qualifying to be labeled a shithole country. But who do you blame? I blame the double standard of the West, who have tolerated this madness in our country. I blame the ruiners of Nigeria, who are more or less the agents of the West and anyone who will buy them. But most of all, I blame all of us, the victims. Whether you are a victim who is aware of your victimhood or you are blissfully unaware, the reality is that it is not the duty of the oppressor to loosen the chains of the oppressed. It is the duty of the oppressed to break the chain of his oppression. It is up to us as victims to understand that it is our duty to stop what has happened to us. It was Seun Kuti who once referred to what has happened, that what we will call immigration, as escape. And it's very correct. And it plays into what Trump was talking about. The first time Trump was going to talk about this, I think that was in January, no, it was in 2017. He made his public statement about the shithole countries in January 2018. But earlier in 2017, he had said about Nigerians, specifically about Nigerians, and I quote, they never go back to their hurts. Do you understand? You know, those are our touched earth. That is where he believes that we live. I saw a video recently, a lady from Abriba who was talking about all the fantastic mansions in Abriba, the castles, the beautiful edifices that have been built in the place on top of zero services, on top of zero infrastructure, no electricity, no drainage, no sewage, nothing. Testament to the poverty of private wealth. She spoke about this in a shithole country. She was, amongst other things, but the story of Abriba is the story of Nigeria. The poverty of private wealth. When Trump was talking about shithole countries, he was talking about the poverty of private wealth. He knows how much more the West could do with the resources that we fritter away. He sits down, he has the papers, he reads the intelligence reports. He knows how much the idiot who come cap in hand begging for handouts have stashed away in the bank. He knows. He reads the papers. He knows exactly what orders they just gave the rulers of the shithole countries the previous week, and now he's back in power. He is back in power. But I love Trump. Believe it or not. He's my favorite American. Where others will pretend, Trump will tell you exactly what he thinks. And you need to take him serious. You need to take him very, very serious. When he lost the last election, a lot of Nigerians were deluded into believing that Trump lost because Americans are not like Trump. What you all conveniently forgot, very conveniently forgot, is that Trump got, I believe, 77 million votes. And in any other election year, that would have been sufficient to win the presidency. What that tells you, if you are interpreting the data correctly, is that at the end of the day, Trump is as American as apple pie. You are the ones who are reading him wrong. And where America is in this moment is in a place where it is transitioning into an isolationist country. Other countries of the world might want to wrap their brains around this, but this is how it affects us as victims. We need to get it clear that this country has been a shithole country for as long as I have been alive, even though it wasn't always as dirty as it has become today. And it will remain a shithole country for as long as we, the victims, are quiesce in allowing it to be used as a shithole country. Because those who have ruined it and turned it into a shithole country might have their houses here, but their homes are almost always in countries where they don't have shitholes. Trump's America would allow the beneficiaries of the ruination of these shithole countries to have access to their own country because of the riches they come bearing. They would allow refugees from Nigeria, trained manpower, those who should develop Nigeria are encouraged to come in as refugees using one visa thing or the other. And it's not just Trump's America, it's the whole world. The only country that Trump would have been happy to have refugees from was Norway. And Norway is a country that isn't going to send anyone anywhere as refugees. No Norwegian is interested in running anywhere because the state functions. So let's be clear about something here. You may not like what the truth teller has to say to you, but you should focus on the truth or veracity of the assertions that he has made. I'm not American. I'm a Nigerian. Trump owes me nothing. He owes you nothing. That we're waiting for charity is a mark of the lack of respect. We were the ones who used to lend money to the world in the 60s. Nigeria was the country that used to be an economic powerhouse and had the capacity to have transitioned to the first world if we had been yoked to reason. To resolve this mess, let us be clear. Both the Nigerian diaspora and the inmates of the Nigerian prison are going to have to be very deliberate. When I say Nigerian prison, I'm referring to each and every one of you walking around on your streets, luxuriating in your homes. The reality is that you are not different from prisoners because you are not the ones in control of your destiny. You're living in a big, open, shithole prison. For as long as you do not decide who rules you and by what laws you are to be ruled, you are no different. In fact, the prisoners are better than you. At least, even though they might not always have the obligation to feed the prisoner, they are obliged to keep the prisoner safe. It's safer in there than it is out here. So, for the victims of the shithole who are inmates, you're going to have to find the grace to unite yourselves and to then find the duty and resolve. Let me remind you, in 2050, Nigeria is projected to become the fourth largest population in the world by 2050. 2050 is exactly 25 years from today. One of my very best friends, father, Chivanya Adebanjo, is 96 now. So if I'm blessed to live anywhere near as long as he is living, in 25 years' time, I'll be 82. So it's not out of the realm of imagination that I'll be alive to see the time when Nigeria will be the fourth largest population in the world. But you know, the scary thing about that population is that it is not a population that is being purposed for anything. Yeah, let that sink in. Let's do some simple maths so that we might better understand the kind of dilemma that is lying in front of us. World Bank and the UN, UNESCO, will bandy around figures running into around 18 million of out-of-school children in Nigeria. That works out at around approximately 15% or thereabout of our projected population. I'm not a mathematician. Let the mathematicians work that out themselves. Now, this has been the consistent projection for at least like the last 10 years. Is run between 14 to 18 million for the last 10 years. Now, I need you to pay attention to this. That demography that is captured as being out of school are children under the age, I think, of 15 or 16 or thereabout. Those are children that you are expected to find in primary and secondary school. Let's just say like 16. So if you have had figures, double figures of children out of school for the last 10 years, it means that out of a population of estimated population of about 220, 230 million, if you do some rough statistics, you're saying that about 70 to 100 million of the population have received no formal education of any sort. So what you are also saying, because ignorance has been so weaponized against the Nigerian that the public school system has been essentially crippled for a generation. Even those who have gone through the public school systems are functional illiterates. So by 2050, when I would be 82, if we do not do something to reverse this trend, we would have a population in excess of 500 million people, over 300 million of which, or maybe like 400 million of whom would have been untrained. Now, if they were merely unschooled, but trained in some productive venture or the other, there will be no cause for alarm. Maybe we'll reverse our shithole situation. But the alarming thing is that even the conventional trade system where people learned trades like carpentry, like bricklaying, like refrigeration, like mechanic, like welding, all the traditional ways of learning, it's been destroyed. There are no technical schools. The trade, the masters are no longer available to train a new generation of artisans. I've done appreciable work in the real estate sector, and almost every artisan coming into Lagos to work in real estate are coming from Benin, Togo, Ghana, and our youth are unemployed. How do you employ somebody you have not trained? We have a demographic trap in front of us. It's already right here. You go to every one of the rural areas. If the young men are not Okada riders, what are they? Bet Niger, bet this, bet that, this bet, that bet. The only industry growing like wildfire. Let me widen it. The only industries, the gambling industry, the agbero industry, the religious industries. Those are the only ones growing. Thank you, Daria Yola. Yahoo Yahoo industry. Ritual killing has exploded. Do you think they don't read? I'm sure somebody said one day, he said, Nigeria must be the comedy channel in heaven. And I'm like, if you think it's the comedy channel in heaven, exactly what do you think the whole world sees when they look at us? The world is a global village. Imagine what they think when they see videos of our ritual killings, when they see videos of us beheading ourselves in the name of God, when they see videos of our rulers living ostentatious lives in the midst of the poverty in which the people are wallowing. We are no longer eating. They see us. They see us. The only industry is growing. Churches are proliferating. Everybody is having miracle water, miracle handkerchief, miracle this, miracle that. The people are looking for miracles because their objective realities are sickening. Look, everything I am doing, this discourse, there's a method to the madness. I'm trying to help us all to understand. No Voltron is coming to save us. No Voltron is coming to save us. We are the ones who are going to have to save ourselves. And to do that, you're going to have to recognize that there is nothing that hails you, whether you're an Igbo man, a Yoruba man, a Fulani, an Ijo, an Ibiobi, whatever you might be. That thing that is afflicting you is afflicting the other one as well, even though the idiot might not say it. Let me show you. The name Kankara came into prominence during the reign of Buhari. Meanwhile, Kankara is in Katsina State. Kankara became almost a deserted land because that place became a target for Fulani terrorists. Kankara is a Fulani village. Do you understand? Is in Katsina. The president at the time was a Fulani man, a demigod. Almost the entire security architecture of the country was Fulani, but it did not save the people of Kankara. Nigeria failed them because Nigeria does not really care about your ethnicity. It only cares about your class. Are you a member of the untouchables? That is the first question Nigeria asks of you. So if you are not a member of the untouchables, if you are one of the victims of Nigeria, learn to recognize the other victims across the many divides that they have built for you. They have broken bridges so that they can keep you divided. They have created chasms so that you don't speak to each other. You are failing to recognize those who should be your comrades at arms simply because you have embraced hatred that was never yours in the first place. So I'm saying to you, the only pathway to building a bridge into a future where Nigeria and perhaps even our continent, on account of the example of Nigeria, might stop being referred to as shithole countries. If our children are not to continue running away and escaping to the land of their enslavers, if that is not going to continue to happen, if in 25 years' time, when we are primed to become the fourth largest country in the world, if we have not changed this trajectory, if we are to change it, we must work together as one. Do you understand me? We must find the grace to work together as one. In the absence of we, the people, or maybe I should rephrase that for you. In the absence of we, the victims, remember that their fraudulent constitution, Decree 24, it starts saying we, the people. But me and you know that we didn't do any such thing. If we, the people, we, the victims, fail to recognize ourselves and we are leaving it to politicians come together to form one grand alliance in order to save us, you are expecting politicians to save you. Who are they meant to be saving you from? Themselves. You are stupid. Unite yourselves. You unite yourselves. Form a grand alliance amongst yourselves first. When you have formed a grand alliance amongst yourselves, then you come to the knowledge of the fact that you, the Nigerian victims, are the majority. That is what can stop us from continuing to be a shithole country. And we might yet transform into a citadel on the hill to which every other African oppressed elsewhere can flee. If we don't sort out our issues urgently too, we might yet become the fourth largest prison. Because whilst we profess to being a democracy, men are being handed into prison on account of their opinions in a democracy. Because Yele says that the Inspector General of Police is an illegal IG, a perfectly valid and reasonable opinion in the face of the clear position of the law. That you change the law after you had already appointed the man does not mean that the law should apply to him retroactively. Me, I'm no longer a lawyer. But assuming that it is even wrong, assuming that the interpretation of that law is wrong, how does that amount to a crime in a democracy? What else qualifies a place to be referred to as a shithole country, if not something as foolish as what the Inspector General has done with Yele is the norm in that kind of place? Opinions should not be criminalized. Every fool is entitled to one, including me. If I have done something wrong, to hold my opinion, educate me. But surely, there must be something fundamentally wrong with a society where opinions are criminalized. I will close by saying, I have no guns for you. I cannot even encourage you to embrace violence. But I do know that if you would dare to unite yourselves behind truthful ideas, understanding that what is good for one should be good for all, there is nothing impossible for you as a collective. But the first task we must set ourselves as a collective before we start talking about any 2027, we must demand electoral reforms. We must demand electoral reforms. Without electoral reforms, 2027 is already lost. If we cannot have automatic transmission from beavers to IREF real time, if we cannot have independent candidacy to break the pack of the monetized delegate systems in the parties that are devoid of ideology, if we cannot have diaspora voting in 2027, then we might as well just allow Bulaba to write himself his result and accept that will remain a shithole country for as long as we continue to lack the courage to confront this system.
So guys, if you think Donald Trump is playing in defending the United States of America, you must be joking. This man is not there. Donald Trump doesn't have friends, so he doesn't have friends, and anyhow he wants it, that's how he does it. Honestly, Donald Trump no get friend. Like you can see, he does not have friend. And he believes America should regain its position. Honestly, he believes America should regain its position. And that is why he's doing what he's doing now. So you can imagine him, taking on South Africa and calling on many. So I'm just wondering what is going to happen. Trump has also promised to give all this, is it tariff they call it, to European Union. It's America first. Trump say protect your territory. Be a patriot. Fight for your freedom. Hey, fight for your freedom. Donald Trump say fight for your freedom. Nothing comes without a struggle. Hey, God. Honestly, you can see what is happening in the entire world. Everywhere, the crypto market is down. Many people were thinking that with Donald Trump, that crypto is going to rise. The crypto is down and markets are swinging. Things are not looking good the way people thought it was going to go. And now Donald Trump is saying, wait for more tariffs. Donald Trump is not sparing anybody at this moment. He's not at all, honestly.